In this episode of Ottawa Business Journal's Behind the Headlines, Kanata North pushes for autonomous buses and shuttles, Ottawa home prices show signs of leveling off, and a legendary Ottawa entrepreneur prepares to hand over the reins. All this and more coming up right now. Behind the Headlines is brought to you by Nelligan Law. Their profession is the law. Their product is peace of mind. Hello and welcome to Behind the Headlines for the week of July 12, 2021. I'm Michael Kern from the Ottawa Business Journal. Thank you for joining us today. Behind the Headlines is a regular podcast from OBJ to explore the most popular local business stories. I'm happy to have my two colleagues from OBJ here with us. As usual, Peter Kavesi and David Sally, welcome to you both. Let's dive right into this episode. We have story number one, which involves, as mentioned, Kanata North Business Association, which is the association that represents about 500 plus technology companies, as the name suggests, North Kanata, made an attention-grabbing headline this week. They proposed having transit operators run autonomous buses along March Road and Highway 417, as well as an automated vehicle shuttle service that could be ferrying workers around the area's tech park as soon as next year. All this would cost potentially $35 million. Dave, what are some of the economic development officials saying about this?
Well, Mike, as you say, this is quite a major announcement. I mean, we've known for a while now that obviously Kanata North is kind of a hotbed for AV technology, right? You've got companies out there like BlackBerry, QNX, Ford is doing a lot of research into this. You've got other local startups that are really getting into it. Area X.0 is in town here, which is like the biggest test track pretty much in Canada for AV technology. So the Kanata North Business Association really feels like it's got kind of a big head start here on a lot of other places. So why not try and get a pilot project going to really test this stuff in real world conditions? And you get a couple of things out of this. Obviously, it helps move people around as they're trying to find better ways to get the 20,000+ workers who come into the park every day under normal conditions when everyone's back at work. So they want to be able to move them around more efficiently. And also, it's really kind of seen as a way to test drive this technology, if you will. And with local companies here being so involved in it, they feel like, as Jenna Sudds, the counselor for the ward, says, this could demonstrate what is possible in the field of AV technology, so that Ottawa is really ready when the technology really matures and comes into its own, that local companies here can really be poised to take advantage. Invest Ottawa is going to be very involved in this, and their CEO Michael Tremblay, he said that he really feels like this is going to cement Ottawa's status as an AV tech hub. That a lot of local companies have already started blazing a trail. Think of companies like SmartCone, Smats Traffic Solutions. They're already testing their products out at Area X.0. So this is just going to put even more of a spotlight, on products that Ottawa is already becoming known for, and it'll really allow it to showcase its abilities in a real world setting, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, that's the interesting part of the idea, I think, as you touched on, Dave. Like, a lot of this technology is being demonstrated in Ottawa. It'd be great to see it actually happen, right, in a real world, with snow conditions and rain and so on and so forth. But besides that, Peter, the whole kind of let's make demonstration projects real. There's another angle to this story that makes it important for KNBA. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, and I guess on a bit more practical sense, this is something that could possibly plug a perceived gap in the city's rapid transit network. So, just for context, the light rail expansion, phase 2, that's currently underway, it's going as far right now as Moody Drive. So that's going to be the new station is going to be opening up there later this decade. The plan for when light rail does expand even further, something that's not expected until the next decade, when it goes even further west, it's actually going to bypass that big employment hub in Kanata North and instead follow roughly the path of the 417 before turning at the Canadian Tire Center, heading into Stittsville. So the ability to move workers quickly from the city's main rapid transit network spine towards this major employment hub is significant. Prior to the pandemic, there were some comments just that the area's seen a lot of growth in recent years, and so there was some comments that there was a lot of traffic, some comments on the road condition that maybe what some people suggest it wasn't sort of befitting that image of Kanata North as a global world-class tech hub. So having this very cutting-edge form of rapid transit could really go a long way to helping that image, and then practically getting people to and from there.
Well, there's no denying there's traffic issues. I mean, we saw that pre-pandemic. It's hard to get in, hard to get out, and it was quite surprising. There's tens of thousands of workers there. So something certainly has to be done about that transportation issue. Let's go to story number 2, which is a really interesting one and maybe a little bit of a change in a trend. It involves residential housing prices, which we know have been skyrocketing. Beyond pretty well anything we've ever seen. The average home price in Ottawa is now $750,000. That's a lot of money. And that's up, by the way, about 25% from a year ago in the pandemic. So this has been the crazy trend we're on. But Peter, there's some new market data that is painting a little bit of a different picture. What's that data telling us?
Well, there are some indications that potentially prices after that mind-boggling run-up that we've seen, over the last 2 years or so, that we are starting to see prices stabilize. So, since about, the February-March timeframe, prices have been constant at about that $750,000 mark. Again, we got to be very cautious because that is a 4 or 5 months. That's a very small sample size. And prior to this conversation, I was looking at some of the historical data, and home prices were almost flat for the second half of 2019 at a $500,000 mark before they quickly shot up again. So 4 or 5 months is somewhat of a small sample size, but there is something that is different this time around that's particularly noteworthy, and that is that the inventory levels, meaning the number of homes that are on the market, has hit a 4-year high. So that means that buyers now have more choice. There's more selection on the market. So it's really, I guess, now the question to see that, as we are heading into to the summer and then, into the fall, whether this trend persists both on prices as well as having that inventory on the market.
And I guess it should be noted that some of that trend is extending not only in Ottawa, but kind of across the country. So this isn't something we're only seeing here locally. It might be part of a bigger picture. So listen, Peter and Dave, before we explore our last story of the day, I want to bring in our legal expert from Nelligan Law, Craig O'Brien. Craig is a partner in the firm's litigation, business, insurance, and construction groups. Hi, Craig.
Hi, Michael. Good to see you.
So I'm eager to get your input on this. Almost all businesses have contracts, and those contracts over time have these, what I suspect were largely ignored terms, sometimes called, more about all this language, by the way, but force majeure or acts of God or stuff like that. And I think it's fair to say that before the pandemic, Craig, we would have thought, oh, that's some, useless little clause. But now
Isn't that quaint?
Oh,
yes.
My God, we've experienced the pain of a pandemic here, Craig. So these force majeure clauses are way more important. What discussions are you having with clients about stuff like this?
Well, it depends on which client, obviously. There are some that you would want to keep the force majeure clauses as narrow as possible. And if I'm negotiating on the other side of the coin, I want a force majeure to be as broad as possible. I mean, this is a doctrine that really has been ignored for a long, long time. It actually comes from, or was first used in popularity with a guy who rented a apartment with a balcony to oversee a coronation of a British king. When the coronation was delayed a week, he wanted to get out of the rental contract of the unit, and was actually able to successfully do that. From that is a long, long time ago. And from there to here, things have drastically changed. In the pandemic environment, we are seeing, usually from employment contexts, that the force majeure can be used and has been applied to the pandemic. It's really a scenario where neither party to a contract could reasonably have foreseen what occurred. So in the instance of a pandemic, it will be applied and has been applied when government regulations now preclude businesses from operating in the way that they were meant to.
And it was sort of, this is a dumb question. So is force majeure going to automatically include a pandemic? Or, if a company watching this wanted to make sure they have the right language, do they have to be specific about a pandemic?
They don't, but if they're specific about other things that do trigger a force majeure and ignore the issue of a pandemic, it could be read out. That if you have a long list of things that you are including, war, pestilence, government regulation, whatever it may be, and you specifically do not have pandemic language included in there, that could be interpreted by the court as an intention to exclude.
It sounds like it's fairly technical. So this is definitely one of those cases. I mean, maybe all of them are an example when they should phone someone like you, Craig, to get some good legal advice, especially if a coronation might be delayed, by the way.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yes, there are certainly, it's very fact specific, as well as being quite a technical area. And frankly, it does not have the same treatment by our courts over time that other issues do. So a lot of it does need to be interpreted using relatively old case law or very odd scenarios that really don't have much application to the broader business community.
Well, thanks for sharing your insights on these force majeure clauses. And again, appreciate you being here. And I would recommend people give you a call on this. Thanks, Craig.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks for having me.
And thanks to Nelligan Law for its sponsorship of this regular podcast. Dave, we're going to go to you for our third and final story, which involves a very well-known local CEO who's focused in the tech sector. I think I first got to know him through a company called Fluidware. That he was partner with someone named Eden Mirzai, and there was an exit from that company, by the way, and they both did fairly well. But then this particular gentleman went on to lead a company called MindBridge AI, which is really important in Ottawa because it's one of the prime examples of artificial intelligence companies. So this gentleman, I guess I should say who it is at this point, Eli Fathi, is stepping down as CEO, and he's going to ease into retirement. Dave, what is the legacy of Mr. Eli Fathi?
Well, Mike, people throw around the term, legend or just iconic, whatever you want to say, a lot. But I mean, that really does apply to Eli Fathi. I mean, just an indication when I posted this story, early last week or whatever. I mean, the level of engagement we got on social media was unbelievable. I don't know if we've ever had a story that's gotten that many comments. Just people saying, "Wow, like congratulations, Eli. You've made." I mean, I remember going to you when I was a young engineer, a young entrepreneur starting out, and you changed my life essentially. I mean, that's the kind of impact Eli Fathi has had on Ottawa's tech community over the last 40 plus years. It's a classic immigrant story almost. Like he moved to Ottawa as a student from Israel in the early 1970s, eventually did his master's degree in electrical engineering at U of O, and went on to build more than half a dozen companies. He says they employed collectively well over 500 people. You talked about Fluidware, which was later acquired by SurveyMonkey. And then Eli went on to found to take the key leadership role at MindBridge, which specializes in fraud detection software using artificial intelligence. And it's really become a world leader. Works with the Bank of England, the Bank of Canada. Forbes has just recently named it one of them, essentially one of its top 50 fintech companies, sort of to watch. So, I mean, it has really made a name for itself on the world stage in an area where Ottawa is still kind of trying to come out of the shadow, say, of places like Montreal that really have established themselves as AI hubs. So Eli has really made his presence felt in all kinds of areas of tech, and he also went to Algonquin, and in 2016, Algonquin named him one of its distinguished alumni of the year, just for the impact he's had over the last 4 decades on countless people in the industry. He's very involved still as a mentor to entrepreneurs. He serves on an Invest Ottawa subcommittee that's trying to promote women entrepreneurs. He's very passionate about that, getting more diversity in tech. But now he's got another role. He's in his late 60s now, and he was busy working 14-hour days for decades. And now he wants to take it easy because he's got another sort of growth project he wants to keep an eye on now, and that is his 18-month-old grandson, his first grandchild. And talking to him a couple of weeks ago, he was just over the moon about the gleam in his eye when he was talking about his grandson, and how now I can finally watch him grow up and just experience that whole aspect of life that maybe he hasn't had as much time in the past as he'd like to. So he's gonna stop and smell the roses a little bit more, but not stay away from tech now. Like, you can never, how these entrepreneurs are. They never fully retire, really. It's he is going to stay on the board. He's still going to be chairman of the board at MindBridge, still going to be involved in Invest Ottawa, still going to be a mentor and a trusted advisor to all kinds of people in Ottawa tech. So his influence is going to continue to be felt, no doubt, for years to come.
Yeah. Just to pick up on something you said there, David, I think part of Eli's legacy is, of course, his kind of economic development, the impact that he's had in the technology sector. But you touched on, the social media reaction. It is the fact that Eli's very personal with people. He's a very warm person. He has a tremendous amount of wisdom when you speak to him. So people are drawn to him. So I'm not surprised. It's partially Eli the person, and it's partially the impact he's had on Ottawa that will be fondly remembered. And as you said, I'm sure we haven't seen the last of Eli. So listen, we're going to wrap things up. Thanks to you, David. Peter, I'm going to ask you what we're working on. It's the summer month, so maybe it's a little bit slower, but nothing really slows down at OBJ.
So one thing that I'm looking forward to is this Wednesday, I'll be co-hosting a webinar with our colleague Lisa Thibodeau, all about how businesses can apply machine learning within their own companies. So machine learning, it's all around us. Netflix and YouTube know exactly what I want to watch. My inbox knows which messages are important and which ones look a little dodgy. My word processor increasingly is finishing my sentences. So this is a technology that's really gone mainstream. It's being used by accounting firms, law firms, a whole host of different businesses. It's not just the realm of academia or big tech anymore. So Lisa and I have a really exciting conversation on deck with some experts from Audit Map, a local Ottawa tech company, Sengen, as well as our partners from the University of Ottawa Professional Development Institute. So it should be a really great conversation. We really encourage everyone to attend. It's a 30-minute free webinar. So please go to obj.ca/events just to find the registration details.
That's super. I look forward to that, Peter. Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode. A reminder, this podcast can be watched or heard in various ways. You can watch it on our YouTube channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, click the bell to get notifications when a new video is posted, or that when we're live. You can also listen to this popular podcast on major platforms such as Spotify, Apple, SoundCloud, Twitch, Google, on and on. If you're a real hardcore local business person, one thing to do is go to obj.ca and read us on a daily basis. If you never want to miss a headline, what we recommend is you subscribe to our Monday to Friday email newsletter called OBJ Today. You can subscribe to that by going to obj.ca/newsletter/sign up. On behalf of my colleagues, Peter Kavesi and David Solly, thanks for tuning in. Stay healthy. Hope to see you real soon. Bye-bye.